now.
What would the Healthy Teens Act do that could help reverse that?
Well, we
unfortunate trend?
feel education. Of course, I'm the chair of the education committee, so I think education does everything.
Yeah.
But in this case, the bill says that we have to have what you and I call sex ed, but God forbid they should use the word sex in a bill in the Senate. I mean, everybody would fall off their chairs. We're saying that everybody, boys and girls, should have medically accurate, age-appropriate sex education. Now, you know...
That sounds very reasonable.
Thank you. However, we had a president who thought that abstinence was the only way to go. And since New York State, for many years, wanted to get that money, they were teaching only abstinence only. Well, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we had a Democratic governor come into power, he said, that's absurd. We see that abstinence only has not worked. In fact, it's getting worse the last few years. We've just started to see a turnaround in the numbers of teen pregnancy. So we really have to teach this. And I'm not going to take any more money from the federal government, which was quite wonderful to see. And so that's the whole nature of the bill, that we have to teach. If, you know, we often say if you send out a child to learn how to drive a car, you teach them first.
Yeah, please, please.
We think that sex is even more important than driving a car, and we're not teaching.
Suzi, what is the most important, the sort of take-home message that you want our audience to remember after this show, and to tell their friends about, to really think? I heard Suzi say, and this is important.
Excellent. Well, the fact is, I'm going to be fighting for the family health, for the family planning centers. I think the more people support me and the women in the Senate, and we have some guys too. Eric Schneiderman is one of our big heroes, and he stands up all the time. He's a senator from Manhattan. And there'll be those of us who will be fighting for the family planning monies. And so if I get a large number of letters, not to me, and don't send to the choir, I want them sent to the governor, and I want them sent to the head of each house, so that they should go to Speaker Sheldon Silver, and they should go to the leader of our house. He's the president pro tem of the Senate. His name is Senator John Sampson. And appeal to them that we must maintain funding for our health center, our family health centers. And so the more letters I get to those leaders, the governor, the head of the assembly, and the head of the Senate. And
you are advising us that this kind of communication has an impact, even though we'd be writing to people outside of our voting district.
Yeah, because they run the three entities.
And
the fact is, I much prefer letters. I don't want to see names on a petition with 100 names. That doesn't carry the same weight, both physically, literally, and substantively. You know, if you get a bunch of letters, it's better than one sheet with 50 names. So for me, I would say I'll be fighting, but I need, you know, the help of people around here. And also, I would say support for the bill that I'm co-sponsoring that will update us so that we will have the equivalent of Roe v. Wade, even better. And I may have that number. Let me see. I just happen to have the number. It's called the Reproductive Health Act, and it's S5808.
Okay.
And that is, we have to update what we have, because what we have is just woefully out of date. And of course, my Healthy Teens Act, S 4633. I certainly could use a good round of support for that. And family planning advocates, I just saw this, did a survey, a poll, and 88% of all New Yorkers agree that students should have access to information on contraception and on the prevention of STDs, sexually transmitted diseases.
88%?
88, can you believe that?
And we were pushing abstinence only? Excuse me. So I'm delighted that you are co-sponsoring that bill as well. And I do want to thank you, Suzi, but before I have to say goodnight, where can our audience go for further information about these bills or related matters once the show is over?
Well, there's my office, which is in Portchester, and we have people very anxious to assist you if you're going to write some letters for us. And so my phone number is 934-5250. And anyone there will be anxious to help, because you want to help us and we want to help you. And my Albany office, just by calling the central office, central number, which is 518-455-2800, and ask for me.
And seems to me that the Family Planning Advocates has a good website with lots of information about reproductive health legislation forthcoming and in the past also. So
they're a great
asset.
So
those are wonderful resources for finding information. So Suzi, I do thank you very much for spending the time with us this evening. You have brought us up to date with the challenges to women's health, women's reproductive health, sexual health initiatives that need to be taken in Albany this year, that we will support you with, especially with the two bills that you mentioned, and to the extent possible to make sure that family planning centers do receive maximal funding.
Yes, well, I would say that if you're going to write, and I hope you write right away, that's the first thing to zero in on.
Yes, yeah.
We can deal with the legislation. Normally we do just do budgetary things till we pass the budget.
Yes.
And then we look at legislative initiatives. So now write and say we have to maintain family planning monies.
Very good. Well, thank you, Suzi.
Thank you, dear.
I really appreciate your coming.
Pleasure being with you, Fran.
And I thank my Westchester audience for visiting with Suzi and me this evening and learning more about the importance of maintaining family planning clinics throughout the state for vulnerable families and for women and girls who need our help and who need our support. Thank you, and good night.